Here are the top stories of the news. Troops kill 3 bandits, arrest suspected logistics supplier in Kogi State. Federal government administers millions of measles and yellow fever vaccinations nationwide. On the foreign scene, Trump says United States will run Venezuela following Nicolas Maduro's capture. And good afternoon and welcome to Spring News at 12 on Western Spring Television. My name is Femi Da Silva. Troops of the 12th Brigade of the Nigerian Army have killed 3 bandits and arrested a suspected logistics supplier during fighting patrols and ambush operations in parts of Kababunu and Yagba West, the local government areas of Kogi State. The operations followed credible intelligence on the movement of bandits from the Adankolo government area towards Agbadu Bunu in Kababunu local government area. According to a Sunday statement released by the Acting Assistant Director, Army Public Relations, 12th Brigade, Lieutenant Hassan Abdullahi, troops swiftly deployed and laid an ambush at an identified crossing point. He said the bandits subsequently ran into the troops' ambush position and were engaged, forcing them to withdraw with indications of casualties as blood stains were observed during exploitation of the area. The statement added that during the same operation, troops also arrested a suspected bandits logistics supplier identified as Sunday Ade Dotun from Odoeri village in Yagba West, the local government area. In the meantime, the Kogi State government has reaffirmed its commitment to a sustained crackdown on criminals across the state, assuring residents that decisive efforts are ongoing to restore peace and rescue abducted victims. The assurance was given by the State Commissioner for Information and Communications, Kingsley Fanwo, who disclosed that security agencies were actively tracking the whereabouts of criminals, with major operations already underway to free victims from captivity. The reassurance came on the heels of a protest by the people of Kababunu community, who held a demonstration to draw attention to the incessant banditry activities in the area. According to them, a fear of attacks has forced many communities to abandon their homes, leaving villages deserted. The demonstrators emphasized that urgent intervention is necessary to restore peace and prevent the situation from spiraling out of control. The commissioner, in a statement, said the government fully understands the trauma faced by families of kidnapped persons and remains deeply concerned about the safety and well-being of all victims. Talking health, the coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohammed Ali Pate, says the federal government has administered over 25 million doses of measles vaccine and 22 million yellow fever vaccinations nationwide. Pate disclosed this on Sunday in a broadcast on his official X handle, highlighting significant gains recorded in immunization coverage and preventive healthcare delivery across the country. Beyond measles and yellow fever, Pate said 5 million children had received the pentavalent vaccine, while over 10 million Nigerians were vaccinated with the tetanus diphtheria vaccine through the nationwide diphtheria response. He added that more than 1 million vaccine doses from the Gavi-funded global stockpile were deployed to support meningitis outbreak control in the northern regions. The minister said Nigeria had also taken a historic step in malaria control with the introduction of its first-ever malaria vaccine. He said that in 2025, the federal government committed $54 million in domestic resources to the global fight against tuberculosis and emerged as the largest African contributor to the Global Fund, as announced at the most recent G20 meeting in Johannesburg. He said since the launch of the HPV vaccination program in October 2023 across 15 states and the Federal Capital Territory, over 14 million eligible girls aged 9 to 14 years had been vaccinated, representing more than 90% coverage.
Tens of millions of measles vaccines, yellow fever vaccines have been administered in a massive nationwide campaign, as well as through our routine systems. Moreover, several millions of children have also been immunized with the pentavalent vaccine, preventing them from getting invasive bacterial diseases that can threaten their lives. Millions more have been vaccinated against tetanus and diphtheria since the inception of our nationwide diphtheria response. We were able to stop a major meningococcal outbreak dead in its track by administering the first pentavalent meningococcal vaccine from the global stockpile supported by Gavi Alliance. And that stopped a major meningitis outbreak in northeastern part of Nigeria. Nigeria also took important steps in combating malaria by adding to its armamentarium the malaria vaccine. As a country with a high malaria burden, accounting for significant malaria deaths in children younger than 5 years, the introduction of the R21 vaccine is another key milestone. For the majority of our people at risk of malaria, the vaccine only adds to our existing interventions such as insecticide-treated nets, seasonal malaria chemoprophylaxis, case management, and larvicidin. And the nationwide rollout has begun in Bayelsa and Kogi states, where prevalence of malaria was high, and hundreds of thousands of children have already received some of those vaccines with the support of Gavi and co-financed by Nigerian government. There is still much room to scale up, and over time we will, but we also count on our people to bring up their children and be willing to get them protected against potentially deadly infectious diseases. Unlike in the past, Nigeria is now emerging to be a continental leader in the mobilizing of its own domestic resources to health sector, and with its active commitments to the global efforts against other diseases that afflict not only our people but also our neighbors, such as HIV, TB, and malaria. For example, just this year, the federal government pledged to contribute $54 million of its own resources to the global fight to stop tuberculosis by spending the money locally on Nigerian people. And we stood tall to make our contribution to the Global Fund against HIV, AIDS, TB, and malaria recently on the side of the G20 meeting in Johannesburg, South Africa, when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu approved a significant pledge by Nigeria contributing to the global fight, or with the resources to be spent domestically here in Nigeria.
Access to sexual and reproductive health and rights, SRHR information and services among adolescents in Nigeria has long been limited by stigma, limited youth-friendly facilities, and lack of privacy. Olalekan Akindoju reports that in Osun State, a quiet but powerful movement is redefining what empowerment means for adolescent girls. Governor Ademola Adeleke of Osun State has praised the Osun chapter of the National Union of Local Government Employees for its decision to resume work on January 5, describing it as patriotic and people-oriented. The governor said the workers' commitment to return represents a positive development for grassroots governance and underscores the labor movement's sensitivity to the yearnings and aspirations of the people. In a statement by his spokesperson Olawale Rashid, he expressed optimism that the resumption will mark a fresh start for activated services and social deliveries at the grassroots level. Describing local governance as the most effective way to reach residents, Adeleke said the labor leaders had demonstrated faith in responsible leadership. He also took time to commend police authorities for ensuring security at council secretariats ahead of the resumption. Transitioning from security matters, the governor addressed the broader context of local government autonomy, noting the importance of rule of law and due process. In Rivers State, a minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, says his political career would be ruined if Governor Siminala Ifubara secures a second term. Speaking during a stakeholders meeting in Okrika local government area of Rivers State, Wike said a decision has been made on Fubara's second-term ambition. Wike resumed open attack on Fubara after the governor defected to the All Progressives Congress last month. The FCT minister accused Fubara of breaching the peace agreement reached before the lifting of the emergency rule in Rivers, which paved the way for him to return to office. On Tuesday, Wike said the leadership mistake in Rivers will be corrected in 2027 and promised to reveal the details of the peace agreement that returned Fubara to power. You're watching Spring News at 12 on Western Spring Television. We will be right back after this break.
just too funny. And I have superpowers to bring extinct animals back to life. Okay, that's not true. But I do have the voice to save our remaining wildlife. We have only 400 elephants and 100 gorillas left. We can't afford to lose even a single one anymore. So let's work together to protect our natural heritage. Tell your family and friends not to buy illegal bushmeats like pangolins and crocodiles, because poaching steals from us all.
Thanks a ton for staying locked in. You're still watching Spring News at 12 on Western Spring Television. Continuing with the remainder of the news. Access to sexual and reproductive health and rights, SRHR information and services among adolescents in Nigeria has long been limited by stigma, limited youth-friendly facilities, and lack of privacy. Olalekon Akindoju reports that in Osun State, a quiet but powerful movement is redefining what empowerment means for adolescent girls.
Value Reorientation for Community Enhancement, VAS, is a non-governmental organization in Osun State with a focus on digital literacy for adolescent girls. However, through the VAS Girls Learning Up, an initiative designed to support out-of-school girls, the organization is not only bridging the education gap, it is also transforming how young girls understand and access sexual and reproductive health and rights, information and services. At the core of VAS model is the comprehensive sexuality education, a dedicated curriculum which allows girls to freely discuss issues affecting their bodies, relationships, and well-being, thereby building a level of communication and trust with facilitators and trained peer educators. According to Oluwatoyin Adebayo, Monitoring and Evaluation Manager at VAS, the curriculum covers topics like menstrual hygiene, puberty, consent, contraception, gender-based violence, sexually transmitted infections, and body autonomy.
And you know, for some of them, they do not know those things. They engage in sexual activity not knowing what exactly it is, what are the things that are at stake and all of those things. They do not know what their rights are. They do not know what the access is. They do not know all of those things. And so after the baseline survey, we kind of now use our results to inform our comprehensive sexuality curriculum. And then we've seen a level of impact in them in such a way that they are now able to make informed decisions about their body.
Approximately 23.7% of Osun State's population is adolescent, based on projections from a 2025 study that estimated the state's population at about 4.3 million. However, many girls, especially those in rural communities, rely on their mates or social media for sexual health information, often leading to misinformation and risky behavior. Before joining the UP, most of the girls had never been taught about reproductive health, as cultural and religious norms often prevent parents from discussing such topics with their children, leaving young girls uninformed and vulnerable. For 17-year-old Ifeoluwa, who dropped out of school at age 14, the UP became a turning point.
At home, you feel awkward, like, I'm menstruating. I cannot tell them that my menstruation is this or that, or I'm having this kind of pain that is extra my what I'm seeing that my sister are doing, or maybe the person I'm living with is doing that is different. But yeah, they make us understand that you can walk up to any of them, that there's nothing bad in it, since apart from since we are ladies, you have to have that boldness in you.
Recognizing that knowledge must be supported by access, VAS helps to provide referrals and linkages to youth-friendly SRHR services. Ms. Adebayo says through partnerships with health professionals, girls are given access to confidential counseling, menstrual health products, and data-backed information.
And currently, we work both in the formal schools as well as our own girls here at the hub. For the formal schools, we partner with some government schools across Osogbo on a project we call the VAS health club. And what do we do there? We actually have this talk with the girls. We talk to them about their menstrual hygiene, what they need to do, and then we provide them with, we supply them sanitary products, menstrual hygiene products. We teach them how to go about it, the essence, and then the importance of the fact, the importance of them making sure that they have proper care when it comes to their menstrual hygiene.
Through its first and second cohorts, the VAS Girls Learning Hub has provided SRHR education and services to about 200 adolescent girls who were previously excluded from such opportunities. Beyond these individual gains, the hub is fostering a generation of girls who are better informed, self-aware, and capable of making responsible choices, a crucial step in reducing teenage pregnancies, unsafe abortions, and gender-based violence in the long run. Mrs. Roslyn Akinlabi, the Adolescent Health Desk Officer in Osun State, is impressed with the intervention.
You cannot end violence if you do not empower girls. One major way to end violence, gender-based violence, is to ensure that they are being empowered. They are being empowered in terms of giving them quality education so that they can be enlightened, so that they can have certificates to look for jobs, so that they can have their own job. If they are empowered in terms of skills, you can be sure that you are in a short while, you are reducing gender-based violence.
While progress has been significant, challenges remain. Some parents still struggle with the openness of SRHR discussions. Adolescent girls have limited access to targeted information and intervention, and there is still a lack of corresponding effort from the community. However, in a country where adolescent pregnancy and gender inequality remain persistent challenges, the VAS Girls Learning Hub offers a practical roadmap for positive change. Olaleko Akindoju, Western Spring Television News.
The National Association of Resident Doctors has announced a resolution to resume its total, indefinite, and complete strike on January 12, 2026. The doctors earlier warned that the country may soon face another nationwide shutdown of medical services following the federal government's failure to honor a memorandum of understanding previously signed with the association. In a statement on X signed by its president, Dr. Mohammed Suleiman, NARD disclosed that the move is to press helmet demands following the resolutions reached at its Emergency National Executive Council meeting. The association also announced plans for nationwide protest over unresolved doctors' welfare issues, with center-based demonstrations scheduled across hospitals. Gunmen attacked a village in Plateau State, Kwanpan local government area, killing 7 people and injuring several others on Friday night. According to reports, the incident occurred in Bung Village, Dilmak district, where the assailants launched a house-to-house attack targeting women, children, and the elderly. Residents described the attackers as heavily armed, while survivors reported that the victims were mostly those who could not escape in time. The Director of Press and Publicity to the Executive Chairman of Kwanpan Local Government Council, Danan Cletus Silvanus, confirmed the incident, stating that the number of fatalities could not be ascertained at the moment. The attack is the latest in a series of killings carried out by gunmen in Plateau villages in recent times. Gunmen had, on Christmas Eve, attacked the Bum community in Jos South local government area and killed 7 persons as well. On the foreign scene, President Donald Trump has said the U.S. will run Venezuela until a safe, proper, and judicious transition can be ensured after U.S. strikes led to the capture of country's president, Nicolas Maduro. The U.S. president also said U.S. oil companies would fix Venezuela's broken infrastructure and start making money for the country. The U.S. launched strikes on Venezuela on Saturday morning, in which Maduro and his wife, First Lady Celia Flores, were captured by U.S. forces and removed from the country. Venezuela announced a state of national emergency and denounced the military aggression, with the country's vice president saying Maduro is its only leader. Maduro and Flores were flown out of the capital, Caracas, on a U.S. helicopter in the early hours of Saturday morning and taken aboard the USS IWGIMA at an unknown location in the Caribbean Sea. They were later flown to the Guantanamo Bay U.S. Naval Base in Cuba before being transferred to another plane to head to New York State and then flown by helicopter into New York City's Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi said Maduro and Flores had been indicted in the Southern District of New York. The pair have been charged with conspiracy to commit narcoterrorism and import cocaine, possession of machine guns and destructive devices, and conspiracy to possess machine guns and destructive devices against the U.S. Previously, Maduro has vehemently denied being a cartel leader and has accused the U.S. of using its war on drugs as an excuse to try to depose him and get its hands on Venezuela's vast oil reserves.
We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. So we don't want to be involved with having somebody else get in and we have the same situation that we had for the last long period of years. So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. And it has to be judicious because that's what we're all about. We want peace, liberty, and justice. As everyone knows, the oil business in Venezuela has been a bust, a total bust, for a long period of time. They were pumping almost nothing by comparison to what they could have been pumping and what could have taken place. We're going to have our very large United States oil companies, the biggest anywhere in the world, go in, spend billions of dollars, fix the badly broken infrastructure, the oil infrastructure, and start making money for the country. And we are ready to stage a second and much larger attack if we need to do so.